This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. The governor of Russia's Belgorod region said on Sunday he was willing to meet a pro-Ukraine group of Russian partisans holding 2 Russian soldiers captive as he reported a renewed flare-up of fighting near the border. Reuters correspondent Zachary Goldman reports.
Grainy aerial footage released on Sunday by a militant group of Russians fighting on behalf of Ukraine purports to show its members storming into a suburb of the Russian city of Belgorod. The Freedom of Russia Legion and another group, the Russian Volunteer Corps, have claimed they've conducted a number of cross-border raids into Russian territory from Ukraine. Last week, Moscow said 2 civilians were killed during fighting. In a video posted to the Freedom of Russia's Telegram channel, a man identifying himself as the commander of the Russian Volunteer Corps said his fighters had captured 2 wounded Russian soldiers. The man offered to exchange them in a meeting with Belgorod's regional governor.
Reuters correspondent Zachary Goldman. Defenders of Ukraine's city of Bakhmut are keeping up the pressure, even though Russian forces declared victory there after the longest and deadliest battle of the war so far. The ongoing defense gives commanders in Moscow another thing to think about ahead of the anticipated Ukrainian counteroffensive. Ukraine's deputy defense minister said artillery shelling continues at levels like those at the height of the 9-month fight over the city. Supporters of Poland's opposition parties said in Warsaw on Sunday they were seeking change as they marked the 1989 Solidarity victory. Hundreds of thousands of people turned out for the march that stretched out for at least 1 mile, holding banners with messages including, quote, "Free European Poland." This is VOA News. An Indian railway official says the derailment that killed 275 people and injured hundreds more was caused by an error in the electronic signaling system that led a train to wrongly change tracks and crash into a freight train. Authorities worked to clear the mangled wreckage of the 2 passenger trains that derailed Friday night in one of the country's deadliest rail disasters in decades. The railway official says the root cause of the crash was related to an error in the electronic signaling system. California officials say they're working to learn who sent a group of migrants from Texas to California by plane. AP correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
A group of 16 young men and women from Venezuela and Colombia were found outside the Roman Catholic Diocese of Sacramento. Each had only a backpack of belongings. The migrants had already been processed and have court dates to apply for asylum. California Governor Gavin Newsom says the group told him they'd been approached outside a Texas migrant center, promised jobs and transportation, and then flown to New Mexico and then to California's capital on a private jet. A migrant assistance agency is helping the group. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Prince Harry is going where other British royals haven't gone for over a century, to a courtroom witness stand. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
If Harry testifies as scheduled on Tuesday in his lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mirror, he'll be the first member of the royal family to do such a thing since the late 19th century, when Queen Victoria's eldest son, Prince Albert Edward, testified twice in court. In court documents, Harry says the royal family has assiduously avoided the courts to prevent testifying about matters that might be embarrassing. His frustration and anger at the press, however, has prompted him to go ahead, allegedly against the wishes of his father, now King Charles III. Charles de Ledesma, London.
China tightened access to Tiananmen Square in central Beijing on the anniversary of the 1989 pro-democracy protests. In Hong Kong, which had been the last Chinese-controlled territory to hold commemorations, police detained 32 people on Saturday and Sunday. Hundreds or thousands were killed when army tanks and infantry descended on central Beijing on the night of June 3rd and into the morning of June 4th, 1989. Find more on our website, voanews.com, or follow us on the VOA mobile app. I'm Joe Ramsey. This is VOA News. I'm Joe Ramsey. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed on Monday what he called the news we have been waiting for from troops fighting in and around the shattered eastern city of Bakhmut, but gave no further details.
And I want to thank for...
Перше, я вдячний кожному нашому воїну, усім нашим захисникам.
Zelensky said in his nightly video address, quote, "I'm grateful to every one of our soldiers, all our defenders who this day have provided the news we've been waiting for. Fine job, soldiers in the Bakhmut sector." Russia's military said it had thwarted a major offensive against its forces in eastern Ukraine, but Ukrainian officials dismissed any notion that an anticipated major counteroffensive had begun. A Turkish commando battalion requested by NATO has arrived in Kosovo to assist in quelling recent violent unrest in the Balkan country. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Violent clashes with ethnic Serbs a week ago left 30 international soldiers, 11 Italians and 19 Hungarians, and more than 50 demonstrators injured. The clashes have grown out of an earlier confrontation after ethnic Albanian candidates, who were declared the winners of local elections in northern Kosovo, entered municipal buildings to take office and were blocked by Serbs, while ethnic Serbs had overwhelmingly boycotted the votes. The Turkish commando unit will be joining a peacekeeping mission already in Kosovo in a reserve capacity. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The U.S. ambassador and a State Department official held candid and productive talks on Monday with Chinese officials and made clear that Washington would stand up for its interests, the State Department said. The visit followed China's snub last week of U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. This is VOA News. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan takes his presidential oath for a third time, as analysts predict foreign policy will be a priority amid Turkey's ongoing veto of Sweden's NATO membership bid. Dorian Jones has more from Istanbul.
Ankara's opposition to Sweden's membership bid comes as Ankara pledges to deepen ties with Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin was among the first to congratulate Erdogan's latest electoral success. Putin gave Erdogan significant financial support during his presidential election, deferring billions of dollars in energy payments to support the beleaguered Turkish economy. Dorian Jones of VOA News, Istanbul.
U.S. weather scientists with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration say carbon dioxide levels in the air continue to rise. AP correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
The cause of global warming is showing no signs of slowing as heat-trapping carbon dioxide in Earth's atmosphere increased to record highs in its annual spring peak. Arlen Andrews, the Greenhouse Gas Monitoring Group leader for NOAA.
That trend is very concerning.
Andrews adds emissions used to increase by maybe 1 part per billion per year, but now they are increasing at twice and even 3 times that rate, depending on whether there is an El Nino. I'm Shelley Adler.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump's lawyers have met with Justice Department officials as a decision nears on whether to bring charges over the mishandling and hiding of classified documents. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
The 3 lawyers spent more than an hour at the department and left without speaking to reporters. They'd asked 2 weeks ago to meet with Attorney General Merrick Garland over what they said was prosecutorial misconduct and overreach by Special Counsel Jack Smith's team. But a meeting with Justice Department officials is also often used to try to persuade them against bringing criminal charges. The probe into potential mishandling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago is believed near the end, with the charging decision likely soon, though it's unclear if or when charges might be brought. Sagar Magani at the White House.
U.S. regulators sued Binance and its CEO on Monday for allegedly operating a web of deception, piling further pressure on the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchange and sending Bitcoin to its lowest in almost 3 months. The Securities and Exchange Commission alleged Binance artificially inflated its trading volumes and diverted customer funds. I'm Joe Ramsey.